Hello and welcome to your flipped or DIY chapter on distribution and supply chain management. This is one of the 4 P's, place. And how do we get things where we need them to be? So for supply chain management, there's so many challenges and they're always changing. Geopolitical instability, labor shortages, rising fuel costs, the chaos of tariffs, and impacting so many sectors, especially consumer goods, B2B, metals, food, and chemicals. Supply chain issues that affect what we want to buy, increased costs, labor shortages, extreme weather happening more frequently, political unrest, wars, material shortage, and then there's changing and unpredictable consumer demand. How do we get what we need? There are 4 basic distribution channels. These are your marketing channels that bring buyers and sellers together to complete transactions. They consist of individuals and organizations whose focus is getting the flow of product from producers into our consumer hands. And even the best product isn't going to see the light of day without some sort of plan to make the product available at the right time, right place for the right customers. You see 4 distribution channels listed here, but no single channel best serves the need of every company. So a firm needs to analyze its channels depending on consumer needs and what it offers. It may choose from direct channel, using marketing intermediaries, dual distribution, or reverse channels, or even a combination. Starting with number 1. It's the simplest, it's the shortest distribution channel, and that's direct channel. Directly from a producer to the ultimate user. It's often supplemented with direct selling, which we'll learn about in the promotion chapter. Direct selling is an important option when goods need more explanation and more persuasion to get the consumer to buy. For example, Bose headphones. Bose sells its audio equipment directly to consumers online. So that's a direct channel, but you can also go to a physical retail Bose store. So in both cases, it bypasses any other distribution partners, thus great example for direct channel. You have marketing intermediary, because sure, you want to do direct channel because you make the most money, but it just doesn't always work. So some products serve markets in different areas of the country or the world. Maybe they have this huge number of potential end users. Maybe they rely on repeat purchases. So then the producer says, you know what? It's just going to be less expensive, more efficient, and less time consuming if I come up with a different alternative to direct channels. And that means a middle person is going to get involved, the marketing intermediary. It's an organization that operates between the producer and the consumer to make sure that it brings the product to market. And there's 3 types of intermediaries. You are quite familiar with retailers specializing and selling goods to consumers at stores. So you've probably bought from retail before. You have wholesalers. Wholesalers or distributors, they take title to the goods, and they are the ones who store them in the warehouse and distribute them to the retailers. The wholesaler is given the right to sell the goods within a designated area, often called a territory, and has certain terms and conditions, and they purchase it at a wholesale discount price, mark it up, and sell it to retail. So think of categories such as clothing, designer goods, electronics, and ever increasingly popular pet supplies. Now, a sales agent is another option for an intermediary. And this is a third party person or company who represents the producer while going out to wholesalers and retailers. They're contracted sales force that have expertise in a particular market or geography. They are particularly important for smaller firms that they can't afford a staff. They want to get into a new market. Now, the difference is sales agents don't buy or take title to the products. They serve as a go-between between the producer and the distribution partner. Think of agricultural products, big commercial equipment, and computer products. Here's an image showing what we just discussed, and you can see the length of the channels, of direct channel being the most immediate, all the way down to agent channel and the different intermediaries that could be possible. Vertical integration is when a producer assumes control over all the functions that were previously handled by an intermediary or even never handled by an intermediary. Let's take the example of Tesla. It's a great modern example. So it differentiates itself in the way it operates from other auto manufacturers because it outsources large parts of their production, and it manages many key processes in-house. For example, Tesla builds its own components, including the batteries, the electric motors, and the software. It has gigafactories that produce not only the cars, but the batteries and storage products. So instead of using dealerships, Tesla sells directly to consumers in Tesla-owned stores or online. Tesla has its own operating system and autopilot software rather than outsourcing it to third-party developers. So that is an ideal example of vertical integration. Next up is dual distribution. And this refers to the movement of products through, no secret here, dual meaning two or more channels to reach the firm's target market. Your example shown here in the book is Ray-Ban, but I'm going to use Starbucks. So Starbucks is the producer and distributes its bottled Frappuccino and direct channels by going into the store. You can go into the store, into the cooling display, and pick up a bottle of Frappuccino. But you also know you can buy this product elsewhere. You can buy at Quickie Marts. You can buy it at grocery stores. You can buy it someplace on campus. And so that is dual distribution because a retailer is offering the same product. A dual distribution strategy, no doubt, maximizes firms' coverage in the marketplace and thus increases cost effectiveness of the marketing effort. The more ways you can get out there, the better for some companies. What the heck is reverse channels? Well, it's just likely what you think going backwards. It's reverse logistics or also reverse supply chain. So it's handling the products. They've been sold, they've been handled by the customer, but for some reason they're going back through the supply chain. Focuses on moving products from consumer back to the manufacturer, which I think I just repeated. Whoa, slow down there. Reverse channels are essential for managing product returns, exchanges, recycling, refurbishing, or even disposal. Reverse channels are important because of the rising cost of raw materials, the increased availability of recycling facilities. Again, if we don't live in Fairbanks, Alaska, let's pretend we live in a larger metro city, Dallas or Las Vegas. Increased environmental sustainability. It's becoming more common to collect and aggregate products and components or materials at the end of life, and then we reuse them, we recycle them, and we return them. Other situations where this may come into play is think of what can you do with a barrel, a returned barrel? You can store something different in it. You can use it in gardens. What can you do with crates, pallets? Computer components that aren't used in computers anymore, melted down and reused. And then the recycling of paper, aluminum, and plastics. You've probably used a product that's made with recycled plastic. That's the world of reverse channels. We're going to step back into a concept that we have already discussed, but we're going to go with it anyway. Why? Why do I need an intermediary? I just want to sell it myself and make the most money. So it's tempting to believe this is the best way. It cuts out the middleman. I get to keep all the profits. But sometimes you have to stick in your lane and do what you're good at. So intermediaries are going to perform distribution functions more effectively, less expensively than the producer, just from economies of scale. In the end, partnering with the right intermediary will make you more money and make you more money and cost you less time. All right, remember the options were retailer, wholesaler, and sales agent. So here's what these intermediaries do. They facilitate the exchange process. They cut the costs of buying and selling to multiple customers because you're using an intermediary. You're lowering the cost of logistics. A manufacturer then doesn't have to figure out, gosh, am I going to have to buy or lease my own network of trucks, or however you're getting the product where it needs to be, or warehouses? How am I going to take it and do inventory? Just that way you partner with a logistics company through an intermediary. Well, you also want more sales. Maybe you're really good at what you do, but you're just not really good at sales. So intermediaries are going to also help you with the sales and marketing services that manufacturers just might not be good at. Let's take an example of a wholesaler has a much larger sales force, which connects hundreds or even thousands of retail partners. So if you're a small manufacturer and you're trying to gain market share, then it's going to be expensive and complicated to build your own sales force and to contact these stores who don't know who you are. Think of a wholesaler for a clothing brand that we're used to, like Mountain Hardwear. Mountain Hardwear is going to the retail places, let's say here in Fairbanks, and going in and saying, here's what's coming up for next season. This is what's new. This is what your sales were before. And they act as the intermediary. Here is the image. If you learn better pictorially, it's just showing the web or the net that can happen if you're spending all your time chasing down the distribution channels. It's going to cost you time, cost you money, where it's often and quite popularly marketing intermediary will save money. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what a supply chain is. It's a connected system of organizations, activities, information, and resources designed to produce the goods, move the goods down the supply chain to the final destination, and go from the supplier to the end customer. It begins with raw material inputs for the manufacturing the product, goes into production, and then you move that finished product through distribution channels to customers. Sounds simple, right? We just want what we want when we buy it and we swipe our card or put it in our cart. This is all about how that happens. In a supply chain, you have two directions, upstream and downstream. Upstream management involves raw materials, inbound logistics, and then warehousing and storing the facilities. Then downstream means product storage, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and customer service. Here's another slide that shows it. This is from your book. When managing the supply chain, businesses need to look at ways to optimize each function of the activity. So going through the upstream and downstream steps. Let's say you're making a teak table with wood from North Carolina. You have to acquire the raw materials, make sure they're ethically sourced, make sure there's enough of them to keep your furniture business in place. Great. Inbound logistics needs to make sure that it is then come inbound, that it's timely and reliable so that your customers get it when they want it. It's made, you've used the raw materials to make your teak table. Now you have to store it somewhere. So you have to have some sort of storage facility where it's safely secured, temperature controlled. There's an inventory system. All right, we're putting our table together for production. Now we're going to move downstream. Finished product, same thing. Now you have to store that. We had to store our raw materials. Now you have to store your finished product with those same concerns. Outbound logistics, plane, trains, automobiles. How are you going to get it where it needs to be? You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, doesn't matter. And that's where your sales and marketing team comes into play. And then last box here and the last step in our supply chain is customer service. So what is your level of customer service? Is it very hands-on, very personalized, or yeah, you just make those kind of decisions. Think about, we'll go with Starbucks again. Starbucks introduces a new seasonal drink and stores it, and stores are fully stocked, but the in-store promotions and the mobile app updates aren't going out on time. So customers don't know about the new offering and lower sales. So think about where that would hit on the supply chain. Let's do Nike. Nike designs a new line of running shoes, and they're using sustainable materials, reverse channels, and generates excitement through social media and influencers. But then the overseas suppliers can't deliver the special fabric that is needed on time, and the launch is delayed. Where would that go on the supply chain? Companies choose a variety of methods for managing the supply chain, and technology and AI are really coming into play and helping. High-tech systems like radio frequency identification, maybe you've heard the term RFID, and ERP software, enterprise resourcing planning. So RFID is a tiny chip, has identification, and has information that's placed on an item. It can be read then by radio frequency and a scanner from a distance, making tracking easier. Enterprise resource planning, ERP, refers to a type of software that organizations use to manage day-to-day business activities, accounting, procurement, project management, risk management, compliance. A complete ERP system is also going to have software that helps you with planning and budgeting, predicting and reporting on financial results. Then AI is even used in supply chain. Advanced algorithms and machine learning techniques are going to be used to analyze extensive data sets and optimize various aspects of logistics. It can forecast inventory needs, predict demand, identify potential disruptions, and enhance real-time tracking and visibility. Going back to RFID, here's a pictorial replicate or view of how it's used. So think of an RFID. RFID is not like a scanner code, like when you're scanning at your do-it-yourself grocery. It's like a sophisticated Apple AirTag. We're to the last bits. of the chapter. And this is okay, I understand the intermediaries and the distribution channels and the different supply chain elements. Now, how do we get the products where they need to be? And this can be these 5 modes of transportation, or again, some combinations. Railroads control the largest share of freight if you measure it by metric ton. A ton mile measures how much revenue a company market makes per volume of freight transported. This basically translates into revenue earned for transporting 1 ton of freight 1 mile. Think of the big, heavy loads that you're seeing: grain, fuel, automobiles. So you're moving lots of tonnage rather slowly, but lots of miles. They move heavy goods over long distances, where trucks handle more deliveries overall, but shorter distances, lighter loads. Goods that you will see on a railroad are moved by railroad: lumber, iron, steel, coal, automobiles. Motor carriers, or big semis, haul billions of tons of freight each year, and they deliver where railroads can't reach, right? Railroads have a specific system. It's fast, consistent service for both large and small shipments. Once again, technology is coming into play. You have in-truck computers that allow last-minute changes in scheduling if there's an issue on traffic or weather, driver safety monitoring so your drivers aren't falling asleep, and even autonomous trucks are popular in some states. Self-driving. Goods that are often in the back of those semis you see: clothing, furniture, lumber, food, and machinery. We're now to 3 out of 5, and we're going to talk about water carriers. 2 types. You have inland or barge lines, and these are on United States riverways like rivers, sounds, and bays. And ocean, going across the ocean, so ocean going deep water ships, where it goes going across the Atlantic, Pacific, and this is a longer transit time, but they're the size of football fields and double the capacity of any other vessel. Goods that you're going to see sometimes packed in the semi-containers on the water vessel: fuel, oil, chemicals, again, automobiles, electronics, clothing, and toys from foreign manufacturers. Pipeline is unusual because we understand it more than most, because we have a pipeline that runs through Alaska. It ranks 3rd after railroads and motor carriers in ton miles transported, and many people aren't even aware that pipelines exist. They just like, my fuel comes to my house, I don't know how it gets here, my natural gas or something like that, my propane. They're low maintenance, they're dependable methods of transportation, and they carry 2 types of commodities: crude oil and refined products. Fewer locations than our water carriers. They can accommodate only a small number of products. They really only do what they do, but that's oil, diesel fuel, jet fuel, kerosene, natural gas. Lastly is air freight, and this is the fastest and most expensive mode of transportation. You can get items to remote locations or hard to reach locations. Time sensitive, right? This is how flowers are often flown, or refrigerated food. And there is a higher level of security. If for some reason you need a higher security and it needs to go through some screening, then air freight is the way to go. Goods that you'll see handled by air freight, as I mentioned, flowers, medical supplies, gourmet food that is then sent directly to the consumers. This little 15.6 image is from your book, showing you some comparative values for these 5 modes of transportation. Then you have intermodal operations. It's not everything goes by one method or not others. Very common to have combinations. So when this is, improving, again, the ultimate goal is to get it into the consumer's hands as fast and reliably as possible. This is just kind of fun. So a piggyback is railroad and highway carriers. A birdie back is airlines and highway carriers. And then fishy back is water and air carriers. Guess what slide is next? The ta-da slide. These are the major topics that were covered. And per usual, there's probably a quiz that accommodates this chapter. Thank you.